What's going on, friends? I am finally officially back. I'm going to be trying to make videos for YouTube weekly. I'm also going to be doing videos for my Patreon exclusively. Um, I doubt they'll come out on YouTube because they're going to be involving something very particular. Um, I realized as I set it out for December, um, since the beginning of October, I have started working on a story that has been in development for 2 decades, 20 years at this point. When I started, here, I'll, these are all notes for it. Um, I realized I wanted to start putting down some art, drawing up characters, whatever, um, but I'm not quite there. Back in the beginning of October, um, I walk every morning for a half hour to an hour. And something that helps pass that time I've found is writing. And I took the opportunity to write Monday through Friday for this half hour and work on rehashing the quarter series. In these last 2 months, I've really fleshed out the characters a lot better. They've all had pretty much their own little weekly story, kind of giving you an introduction to them. So if you want to check those out, I'm going to be making a post on Patreon kind of detailing what's going to be happening in December. Um, a lot of these things are going to be Patreon exclusive. I might make a few of them public, just to kind of build some idea for it. I am going to be drawing things for the. Let me see if I can put this down a little bit easier. So, when I write Monday through Friday, it's a 5-part story. It's not necessarily long. There is one public already, and for Inktober, excuse me, I did this 1-page illustration. Took one of the songs that inspired this start of the writing, and kind of drew a little scene from it. I'm probably going to be doing something similar to this for each. Now there are 9 stories, 9 weeks that I've been doing this. And I'm looking to flesh these characters out with their designs. I will probably be putting an illustration with the story, brought over from Twitter, fixed up some details and whatnot that I've corrected along the way. A few names have changed, because I was still running with old names that I hadn't quite changed, and since then I've found some that I like a little bit better. So there are things getting changed around. I find it very hard to believe that anybody watching these videos remembers this series when I started it 20 years ago. We're talking MySpace days. I had my own tripod or GeoCities. I can't even remember where my website was, but like it housed the first iteration of the quarter series, and each one of these was written before I went to work at 7 o'clock in the morning. I would just write down a couple paragraphs for a story, and about every 3 or 4 of them was a new section, and then it jumped to a different scene. So that's the first iteration. I think that went for a few years. Excuse me. I'm just getting over a cold, so bear with me. So this first iteration was that first decade. I went to college, took a creative writing course, and I was working on the prequel story to this whole thing, about these brothers, magic. It's a really cool, heightened sense of awareness type of thing. spanning centuries. That's right, centuries. I'm going to get into it much more detail on Patreon, but so this first iteration is kind of laying the groundwork. Um, when I was in school, it was supposed to be our final project that we wrote a story, and this was what I was working on for, I think, 3 out of 4 months for this entire thing. Like, was just building towards this and got it nearly finished and didn't want it to be judged. I don't know. I know that sounds kind of weird, but didn't scrap it, but I didn't turn it in, and completely rewrote a new story like within 3 days and turned that in for my final project. Ended up getting a B, and she was surprised that I had turned one in that fast. But after college is where the second iteration stands. I opened up a writing.com account. I am working on rehashing that. I've got a few things locked up because I had like 15 things in my portfolio, and I think the non-paying portfolio is 10 things. So like it locked down 5. I don't know if the quarter series stories are locked down or not, but I should be paying for my subscription here soon, because I'm also going to take these stories and putting out on writing.com so I can get more critique on them. I know there's 5 stories over there, kind of taking this first brother and seeing this fateful night that kind of intertwines them all. So that's second iteration. When I started walking this couple months ago, I started looking at it. I went to find all these notes and everything and couldn't find them, so I was just kind of shooting from the hip for most of them. And so when I got a few weeks written down, realized there were a couple details that I was probably missing, and went to look for these. Probably found them a few weeks ago, and at that point was starting to look over, and it's impressive to see how much my writing has changed. I think doing this podcast with my friend every week, and critiquing storytelling like that has been helping a lot too. But I'm going to keep you up to date over on Patreon if you're at all interested in the quarter series. I'm going to be making weekly videos here, so you can check that out. You can see what's going on in my world of art. Probably a good portion of it's going to be quarter series, so you won't be seeing that. But I mean, I'll still be doing daily drawings and whatnot like that. In January, I'm going to be trying to do daily drawing digitally. Not only save on supplies, but get me more comfortable drawing digitally. And 2020 is going to be the year of digital for sure. I've got a lot of steps to make up. And I know drawing daily in my sketchbooks helped a lot to ease me and make me more confident in that area. So, yeah, I'm going to be working on that. Excuse me. There's some really great posts that I've recently looked at. One I'm going to link down below. It's going to be an art cast from Jeff Lafferty, great friend of mine. Does his own comic book, Berserk or Not. It's on Indiegogo. He's a patron of mine. I just had a write-up on him. I think it was Thanks Week, day 4. He's the weird one of the bunch. Love him to death, but I just watched one of his art cast, kind of talking about style and like the influences that have inspired him, and I see a lot of mirroring effects. Like there's a few artists that I'm inspired by and like striving to reach those levels. But I'm also finding my own style by research or like drawing their lines and stuff like that. So it's really cool. Check that video out for sure. I'll link to the Thanks Week post that I have on him. I will also link to the excuse me, I'll also link to the Survivor post, which is this one, the week 1 of reworking on quarter series. So check all that stuff out on Patreon. If you're at all interested, we are still doing random movies, roomies and movies. This week was a fantastic one. We wrapped up on Titans Season 2. And his Dark Materials are kind of being disappointing. But Watchmen and Mandalorian are becoming like some incredible we couldn't have perceived. The Irishman's kind of a really good gang mobster movie if you're into that. Frozen, Luke has his own ideas on what it symbolizes. I just thought it was a cute cartoon for kids, whatnot. Kind of explaining these kind of different things, I guess. Then we talk about the new Mr. Rogers movie, which was kind of weird for both of us because that great documentary came out last year. And I think if you're going to choose one of them, I'd definitely go with the documentary rather than Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. I don't know. The Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood was kind of just framed weirdly. And yeah, I just didn't jive with it. But if there's something you're thinking about checking out, I would highly suggest going to check out Knives Out. If you can double feature it, excuse me, check out Ready or Not. Came out a few months ago. I think it's available digital now, if not physical. Watch that and see Knives Out on the same night. It'd be a great watch for one evening. But I'll link the latest random podcast down there below, along with all the places you can watch it or listen to it. Mainly just listen to it because we don't do video podcast anymore. But yeah, that's what's going on in my life. I'm going to be recording me drawing a little bit more. I haven't done it for a long time, so forgive me. But you should have seen me. There's a little video up here playing. I took my iPad to a bar this last weekend and was drawing my friend's band playing. And yeah, it was just a good time. So check out all that stuff on Patreon. All the links below. I love you guys, and I will catch up with you next week. And I'll be bringing a whole bag of surprises, I'm sure, too. So, peace, love. Check you later.